Is this what you want?
Is this what you want? The question echoed across heaven, not shouted, not angry, but heavy. Every angel froze. Because God was not speaking to humanity. He was not speaking to the nations. He was speaking to one being. Lucifer, the most radiant angel ever created, now stood before the throne, not in worship, but in defiance. Something had happened. A thought had crossed the line. A declaration had been made. A throne had been imagined. And God, who sees pride before it speaks, responded. But what did he say? Did he warn him? Did he remind him who gave him his beauty? Did he offer mercy one last time? Or was this the moment heaven realized that even perfection can choose rebellion? Tonight, we step into that moment. The silence before the war, the conversation before the fall, the words spoken between creator and creation, before light became darkness. And as we uncover what God told Lucifer, ask yourself, if someone that close to God could fall, what does that say about the human heart? Stay with me, because this wasn't just the fall of an angel, it was the birth of pride. Lucifer did not bow. That was the first sign. In heaven, worship was not forced. It was natural, like breathing, like light shining. Every created being responded to God's presence instinctively. Reverence wasn't commanded, it flowed. But on this day, something felt different. The music that once seemed woven into Lucifer's very being had gone quiet. He stood before the throne, radiant, adorned, still breathtaking in beauty. But there was tension in the air. The angels sensed it, heaven sensed it, and God spoke, not with thunder, not with rage, but with sorrow.
You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created.
The words moved through eternity like a ripple across still water. Perfect, not flawed, not broken, not mistreated. Perfect. Imagine hearing that from the Creator himself. You lack nothing, God continued. No gift was withheld from you. No honor denied. I placed you where you are. Lucifer's jaw tightened. Because this wasn't an accusation, it was a reminder. And sometimes reminders cut deeper than rebukes. Have you ever been reminded of who you used to be? Of how pure your intentions once were? Of how gratitude slowly turned into entitlement? God wasn't exposing a crime. He was exposing a shift. Until, God said quietly, iniquity was found in you. Found, not planted, not forced. Found. That word changes everything. Evil did not invade Lucifer. It emerged from within him, and heaven felt the weight of it. Lucifer finally spoke. His voice was still smooth, still melodic, but there was steel underneath it now.
I have only desired what is possible.
The angels stirred. Possible? Lucifer continued. You made me brilliant. You made me powerful. You placed me above many. You allowed me to see your glory. Why give me sight and expect me not to see higher? There it was. Not hatred, ambition, but ambition without surrender. God did not interrupt him, and that silence, that terrifying, patient silence, filled the throne room.
Why should worship rise to you alone? Why should the throne belong to one when others shine?
He wasn't shouting, he was reasoning, and that's what made it dangerous. Because rebellion rarely begins with screaming. It begins with justification. God's response was not defensive, it was revealing. You mistake proximity for equality. The words were calm, unshaken. I created your light. You reflect my glory. You do not generate it. And that sentence struck like lightning without thunder. Lucifer's wings shifted slightly. For the first time, something flickered in his expression. Not fear, but resistance. God continued, you were lifted because you carried my presence well, but your heart has begun to trade stewardship for ownership. Let that sink in. Stewardship for ownership. How often does that happen? You're given something to manage. A gift, a platform, influence, beauty, and slowly you begin to feel like it belongs to you. Lucifer's brilliance had become his identity, and now it was becoming his justification. You say I reflect. Lucifer replied slowly. But reflection still shines. Yes, God said gently. But it depends. That word echoed. Depends. Reflection depends on a source. Cut it off, and it fades. Lucifer knew that, but pride was already rewriting logic. I will ascend, Lucifer declared more firmly now. I will rise above. I will establish a throne. I will be like the Most High. The angels gasped, not because the words were loud, but because they were final. 5 declarations, 5 I wills. And in each one, God's will was removed. The throne room felt heavier now. This was no longer a misunderstanding. This was a decision forming in real time. God looked at him, not with fury, but with heartbreak. You desire my position, he said, but you do not understand my burden. That sentence froze the atmosphere, because Lucifer had seen the glory, but he had never carried the weight. He had seen worship, but never judgment. He had seen power, but never the responsibility of sustaining existence itself. Authority without submission, God continued, destroys the one who holds it. And here is where the tragedy deepens. Lucifer was not ignorant. He understood. He simply refused to yield. Have you ever known you were wrong, but pride wouldn't let you step back? Have you ever doubled down, not because you believed it fully anymore, but because retreat felt like humiliation? This was that moment. Heaven waited. This was the pause, the space where repentance was still possible. God did not cast him out instantly. He reasoned, he explained, he revealed the consequences, which tells us something powerful. Even rebellion was given a chance to reconsider. Return, God said softly, not commanded, invited. Remember who you are. Imagine that. The creator of all things offering restoration to a being plotting against him. But pride had already matured. Lucifer's eyes lifted, not in worship, but in calculation. If I bow now, he said quietly, I will always wonder. And that was it. Not rage, not hatred. Curiosity weaponized by ego. He would rather fall chasing equality than remain in glory under authority. And in that choice, the fracture became irreversible. God's final words in this moment were not explosive. They were mournful. Then you choose separation. Not I cast you, you choose. Because love does not imprison, even in heaven. And that is where the shift began. Not with lightning, not with war, but with a heart that preferred self-exaltation over surrender. And the next chapter is where heaven responds, because Lucifer was not alone in his reasoning. And what God says next will determine the fate of more than one angel. The throne room did not erupt immediately. There was no instant lightning, no sudden expulsion. Instead, there was silence, the kind of silence that feels heavier than sound. Lucifer still stood there, radiant, unfallen, but something invisible